Good evening. Welcome to the House of Overthinking. I would like to introduce you to a friend of mine. Her name is Alpha Bear. She was made for me by my friend Margaret nearly 20 years ago. We were both big fans of Wicked. And that was just after I'd been to see Wicked at the Gershwin Theatre, where I bought a Wicked hoodie, which I wore so much over the years that it completely fell apart, and my mother had to turn the pieces that were left, well, some of the important parts, into a little pillow that I could remember my favourite hoodie by. So that is the depth and the length of that is how long I've been a fan of Wicked for. And I've been thinking a lot about this holding space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity thing. It sounds weird, and I have an understanding now of what holding space means, but I think it's been expressed quite wrongly, despite the good intentions of the people involved. You see, the reasons why I identify with Defying Gravity are no different, essentially, to the reasons why other people identify with it, which is that so many people know what it's like to experience bullying, or to be othered, and to eventually have to stand up to strike out on your own. I grew up in a very conservative home. It was a good home, but it also was very religious, and that meant that when I was a teenager and found myself struggling with my sexuality, it was a very heavily conflicted time. I was terrified of going to hell. I thought that spirits were watching me at all times, and when you believe certain things, they're very real and they weigh very heavily on an adolescent mind. So I was motivated in my late teens to pursue forms of gay conversion therapy, which doesn't work. In my early 20s, I was having to confront the fact that I was who I was, that I'd been told a lot of things, some of which weren't true, and that I was going to have to strike out on my own to find out who I was in the world. And that is essentially why I relate so deeply to Alphaba. When she says, something has changed within me, something is not the same, I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game. You feel that when you've walked a path similar to that. And when I heard Defying Gravity, it didn't feel as though I was holding space for it. It's quite the other way around. Defying Gravity created a space for all of us to connect to. It gave us words that put very concisely how some of us feel but may not have been able to express quite so perfectly. When you hear a song like Defying Gravity, it just puts your emotions out there. It puts your emotions into words. It puts your emotions into something that we all connect with. And we all, that's being very generic, but so many of us are able to connect with it for deeply personal reasons. But I think it's fair and reasonable that rather than saying we've been holding space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity, we be honest about the fact that all this time, it's Defying Gravity that has been holding space for us. Good night.